Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and yes, of course, continuing on reviewing Christmassy materials on the weekends. You read the title, and you know what I'm reviewing next. Yep, from 1992, Frosty Returns. Yes, Frosty Returns. Oh boy, I tell ya, Frosty Returns was... I guess you could say an interesting sequel. I mean, I think, yeah, it's supposed to be a follow-up to, Frosty the Snowman in the 1960s. Although, for Frosty Returns, and with the animation itself, yeah, it's clear to know that it was not done by Rankin and Bass Studios. Instead, it was done by the same studio, and if you can tell how the animation is in Frosty Returns, you would know. And I don't know, it took me a while to figure that out too, to realize, and especially one of the directors of Frosty Returns, yeah, done by the same people who, brought us Peanuts. Yeah, because with the animation style, well, and the fact that, Peanuts during the 1980s and 90s, especially the end credits, and until I get to them. And yeah, one of the directors, this was directed by two people, and usually, that's common for, anything animation. Sometimes, two or three directors, for Frosty Returns, it was directed by Everett Brown and the legendary man of animation, and, that of course did Peanuts and voiced this Beagle dog, Bill Mendez. Yeah, the late legendary man of animation, Bill Mendez. He too was one of the two directors of Frosty Returns. And yeah, because Frosty Returns is okay, but it's not the best, and especially not a good sequel to Frosty the Snowman. Just saying. So, as always, read the description / the story. The continuing exploits of the famous snowman as he goes up against a more powerful force which threatens all of Christmas. Okay, so Frosty Returns, taking place in the town of Beansboro. I think I am saying that correctly. And we have, of course, a narrator for this, and just like how we had a narrator in, Frosty the Snowman, the narrator being the late legendary comedian Jonathan Winters. And basically this, tiny little figure, and the opening to it, saying, some folks say, you want to really see the country? Take a bus, hop on a train. Me, I'm an old-fashioned guy. For me, snowflakes. And, of course, explaining about the whole thing of snowflakes, and how snow being an important part of Frosty Returns. And the narrator explaining that Beansboro, loves Christmas and the winter, and, they have this annual carnival that they have during Christmas, and we have two song numbers. Well, technically three, because we, of course, get, a rendition of Frosty the Snowman. The instrumental part plays in the opening credits and during the end credits. So the first song number we get is "We Love the Snow," and the kids are singing "We Love Snow," and the adults, they're talking about how much they despise snow. Okay, when did this happen? I mean, the narrator established that, the folks of Beansboro love Christmas in the winter and such, but I don't know, maybe I just I'm a bit confused, but, it's understandable what the adults say, because what snow can do sometimes, and, and yeah, because it's understandable, but hey, snow is just snow, and, who says that snow is god-awful, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, and we get one of our main characters, aside from Frosty, we haven't gotten to him yet. We have Holly being voiced by a young Elizabeth Moss. Yeah, and I know Elizabeth Moss. And there's also her friend Charles being voiced by Michael Patrick Carter. And, basically Holly is this, sad girl, like, it's like she doesn't, like, kind of fit in, and she is like a magician. And when Charles comes into Holly's house, and Holly has her and him, like, continue their magic trick rehearsal, with, like, cutting a box, that magic trick, sawing someone in half, and Charles, like, kind of feeling uncomfortable with this, and, he he asks Holly if, she can at least open a window, and when she opens a window, because, the wind blows, and it blows her hat away, and she basically goes after her hat, leaving Charles being spinned in a box, and with her chasing her hat, and we see at one point the narrator is holding on to the hat, like, okay, like, well, I mean, the narrator, aside from narrating, just popping up here and there sometimes, and, Holly accidentally bumping into Miss Carbuncle, her school teacher, being voiced by Andrea Martin, and Miss Carbuncle just going on about, the snow and so on, and, Holly, like, walks off, and she's a bit cold and kind of crying, and thus we see Frosty the Snowman himself, and like the narrator's humming to get Holly's attention, like, there's her hat, Frosty has it, and Frosty the Snowman being voiced by John Goodman, and this was John Goodman's first ever animation material that he did where he did a voice, and until, a year after doing this, he would voice a T-Rex in We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, and from there on, all the other, fantastic, voice roles that he would do, and as we all know. So yeah, again, Frosty Returns being his first. And, John Goodman being John Goodman, like, he's good at voicing Frosty the Snowman. And, the personality and the kindness that, that the character of Frosty the Snowman is. And, even, like, say, Holly telling Frosty that, she she's saying that her friends don't think that she's, like, talented or anything like that. Like, well, not friend, like, she's not talented and that great to, a lot of people. And Frosty telling her, that's not what your friends think. And then Holly telling Frosty that, she really doesn't have any friends and only has one friend, and that being Charles. And, Frosty saying something, like, one friend is enough, blah, 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 what he said. And Holly then saying that Charles doesn't believe in, like, in things that she brings up, like, magic and stuff like that. And Frosty telling Holly, like, about him being a snowman, like, doing a cartwheel, or, like, I think, like, singing opera or something, and, doing a mean mambo. And then Holly's mother steps in, Lil, yeah, that's Holly's mother's name, Lil, being voiced by the late Jane Hooks. And, Frosty just, like, freezes still, like, I mean, I don't know, because it's a bit confusing. I mean, Lil hands her daughter, Holly, like, a spray can, and basically it's called Summer Wheeze. And basically what Summer Wheeze does is it can clear off and get rid of snow easily like that. And even, like, testing it out some more, and when a friend of Lil's comes in and, showing it off, and, like, she sprays it near, close to Frosty, and, of course, like, yow! Like, he screams and, like, jumps right in front of them. Like, are they not surprised or shocked by a live snowman? Like, I don't get it. Like, clearly in Frosty Returns, this has a couple of, like, head scratchers, like, what? Like that I just said, like, how is nobody, like, shocked and surprised to see a talking snowman? I mean, in the original Frosty the Snowman, that's that song number where, well, I mean, Frosty the Snowman, where they're, having a parade, and there are a couple of people in town where they are shocked to see a live snowman, okay? So why didn't Frosty Returns do this? I don't know. It's hard to tell, really. And then we get the appearance, like, basically the main antagonist of Frosty Returns, who is responsible for creating Summer Wheeze, and that being Mr. Twitchell, being voiced by one of the Murray brothers, Brian Dole Murphy. And yeah, because Brian Dole Murphy, he's got a fantastic voice for voice acting. Like, most notably, the Flying Dutchman in SpongeBob SquarePants, yeah. So he's the voice of Mr. Twitchell, and how Mr. Twitchell, you know, he wants to help get rid of Snow and maybe, as he explains, like, be crowned a king. And this has to do something with the annual carnival in Beansboro. Also, Mr. Twitchell has, like, you know, a pet cat, and technically it's his sidekick named Bones. And I'm pretty sure that, yeah, Bones, like, there's at one point where we hear Bones laugh, and clearly that must have been Bill Mendez voicing Bones. I mean, I don't see him credited, but I just have a feeling that was Bill Mendez because, you know, when he voiced Snoopy and, like, how Snoopy laughed at times, like, like, you know, that. And thus, Mr. Twitchell has, like, these summer wheeze cars, like, you know, drive around town and spray around, you know, getting rid of the snow, and this really upsets Frosty, and, you know, Holly telling him, don't get upset, Frosty, and Frosty, you know, saying, upset? Upset is when you wake up and you realize you don't have a belly button, you know, that's, like, that upset. But for this upset, like, this is serious for Frosty, and for Christmas/winter, and for the snow itself. And, you know, Holly, of course, you know, being upset about this, and, you know, she wants to help and save Frosty, and by doing so, at one point, she attempts to have Frosty, you know, come inside her house and hide in a refrigerator, and then, like, she heads to school, and even Charles, like, you know, talking about why we need snow, I think, and, you know, all the kids in school, they don't want snow anymore. They want summer all the time, and, you know, they chant, no more snow. Like, yeah, Charles, like, doesn't like this, and especially Holly. And, you know, Holly leaving school, like, okay, she can apparently leave school just like that, and, you know, she heads to the carnival, and Frosty is there, and he couldn't stay in the refrigerator all the time. He was getting cramps and a freeze burn. Yeah. And Frosty found the best spot to hide, which being an ice castle. And Holly telling Frosty that, you know, the ice castle will not last long, neither will snow. But Frosty corrects Holly that it's impossible to get rid of snow, stuff like that, and thus we get our second song number, which, you know, is a pretty good song number, Let There Be Snow. Frosty, you know, singing it, and Holly joining in, and then, at one point, we cut to Mr. Twitchell singing his, you know, own version of Let There Be Snow by, you know, this time singing, There's No More Snow! Yeah. And like, him, like, you know, singing / talking about, you know, how he can defeat Mother Nature, stuff like that, but no. There is no way that he could defeat Mother Nature, okay? That's a fact. So, and after the song number, Charles finally meets Frosty, and, you know, Frosty, you know, saying to Holly about Charles, I take it he doesn't dance. Doesn't blink much either. I think that's what he said, doesn't blink. I don't know, like, he's got the glasses and we never see his eyes, you know. And Charles was apparently, like, looking for batteries. Like, what, did he think Frosty was a robot or something? And, you know, Frosty telling Charles, you know, lighten up, kid. Some things are, you know, can't be explained. And, yeah, like, you know, for Frosty being a live snowman, you know. And then Frosty, you know, going, like, you know, some things can't be explained, like rhythm, and, you know, they just start dancing, you know, come on, don't let me dance alone. And Mr. Twitchell in his limo, yeah, and he sees them dancing, and Mr. Twitchell, like, saying, stop the car, and stop the music. I love that breaking the fourth wall moment with Mr. Twitchell, you know, just looking straight at the camera and going, and stop the music. Yeah. And of course he sees Frosty and thinking it's, like, someone from the carnival, and, you know, he wants to get rid of Frosty, and having his cat Bones go after them and spraying around. But, of course, they hide in the ice castle, and, you know, supposedly, like, Bones thought that he took care of them, or, I don't know, because even Mr. Twitchell asking Bones if he got them, and, you know, that's when Bones laughs, like, you know, what a devious cats can be, you know? And, unfortunately, Frosty did get sprayed by a little bit of that summer wheeze, like, on his, like, belly, I want to say belly/stomach, and thankfully, Charles had a bag of snow that he was going to use for, I think, a class project or something, but of course, you know, the right thing to do was to give it to Frosty, and thus, you know, Frosty's all better, and when they come out of the snow castle, there's not that much snow left. But tomorrow is the carnival, and this is, that will be the perfect moment for Holly and Frosty and Charles, you know, to confront Mr. Twitchell and to the rest of the folks of Beansboro about why we need snow. And thus the next day, and we see Mr. Twitchell getting, you know, dressed and ready for the annual carnival, and thus the carnival begins, and it's snowing again, and Mr. Twitchell coming in, and he was gonna make a speech, but this was Holly's moment, and she confronted Mr. Twitchell on why we need snow, and showing off Frosty by pulling down a curtain, and he's there, and, okay, yeah, we hear some crowd's reactions to seeing Frosty, ooh, like, some weird, like, crowd sounds, like, ooh, just, you know, if you've watched it, you'd know. Even, like, you could see Mr. Twitchell and Bones being surprised by it, but, like, some of, like, the marching band members that playing trumpets, they're totally unfazed by it. And Frosty asking, now, can someone give me a beat, or however he said it? And a little guy, who's part of the members of playing the trumpets and horns of the marching band, he starts it off, and thus Frosty once again sings, "Let There Be Snow." And of course, this convinces the folks of Beansboro. And at one point, Mr. Twitchell and Bones, they got into one of the Summer Wheeze vehicles, and I guess, they were attempting to run over Frosty or something? I think that's what they were doing, but with all the folks of Beansboro, like, you know, following Frosty, like, yeah, like, Mr. Twitchell grabbing the wheel, because he didn't want to hit them, and they crashed into freezing cold water, and that's when Frosty is crowned king. Again, because, like, what is that about being crowned king for the annual carnival that Beansboro has? I don't know. I don't think they really explain it. Unless they have, I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comment section. So, again, Frosty being crowned king, and it's funny because, like, Frosty, the folks of Beansboro and Holly singing "Let There Be Snow," and Charles, when he sings it a couple of times, he's not a good singer, and Frosty and Holly's reactions to him singing, like, like he's that bad at singing, you know. And Holly, you know, consulting with Mr. Twitchell that, you know, he can change his ways, and, you know, he can hop on the sleigh and take a ride on the sleigh, and, you know, Frosty kindly gives Mr. Twitchell the king, like, cape, you know, and the crown, and Frosty telling him, you only live once, and, yeah, like, this was Mr. Twitchell's moment, and this is where he got redeemed, yeah. And after Frosty gave Mr. Twitchell the king crown and cape, yeah, Frosty has to say goodbye to Holly because, well, knowing Frosty, because, you know, at a certain point, Frosty can't remain, like, in a town, you know, for very long because, you know, he has to go back to the North Pole, and thus he does so. And again, saying goodbye to Holly and, you know, telling her that, you know, he'll be back. And he said something about, you know, getting a new bow tie with no polka dots. It was pretty funny. And thus, you know, he disappears, and, you know, Holly waving goodbye, and, you know, a tear coming down her cheek. Yeah, very sweet. And, you know, we get one more appearance of the narrator, Jonathan Winters, and talking about the aftermath/epilogue on what happened in the town of Beansboro. Like, Mr. Twitchell basically no longer did the whole Summer Wheeze thing. Instead, he built sleds. Yeah, and Mr. Twitchell knew that he could not beat Mother Nature, or a little girl like Holly, as the narrator says. And the narrator, the last thing he says is, where he's another town that he's going to. And at times, like, the narrator, like, I guess kind of has an obsession with hot cocoa. In fact, we see him drink hot cocoa, and he explains that, for him drinking hot cocoa, it helps him relax. Well, I don't see why not. Hot cocoa could be a relaxing, like, Christmas drink, I guess you could say. And the end credits, because, yeah, just like with some of the Peanuts materials with the, because in the end credits, like, still shots of the characters and, like, just be, like, colored backgrounds, And with the end credits of Frosty the Snowman, we get a new edition of Frosty the Snowman. Yeah, the song Frosty the Snowman, Frosty Returns is okay for what it is. It's okay, but it's not, like, the best, Like, there are some good things that came from Frosty Returns, some, like, some good dialogue, and, with the character of Frosty the Snowman, and with John Goodman's voice performance. Yeah, because, again, it's John Goodman, that's all I need to say. And with the addition of, like, say, Brian Dole Murphy and Jonathan Winters, yeah, 3 great actors, and, really good at doing voice acting. So, yeah. The animation for Frosty Returns, like, it's okay too, but, for this being done by the same people who had done Peanuts, yeah. And the songs are not that bad. Like, especially Let There Be Snow is a pretty good song. And, of course, with, them doing the Frosty the Snowman song, yeah. Just everything about Frosty Returns is okay for what it is. And I'm giving it, yeah, it's on my mind, 6 out of 10 stars. Yes, 6 out of 10 stars for Frosty Returns. And what about you guys? What did you think of Frosty Returns itself? Like, do you think it's okay too? And, do you think it's an okay sequel/follow-up to Frosty the Snowman? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Frosty Returns. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. And I'll see you guys in the next video/review. And of course, continuing on, reviewing more Christmassy materials on the weekends. Take care, peace out, and happy holidays/Merry Christmas to you all.